Okay, y'all. So this is a very, very special Daretti deck profile. And for background, my name is Nick. I've been playing Daretti for about 7 years now. And this right here is my baby. Love playing this deck. Love trading into this deck. I think all but two or three cards in the entire deck I've traded for, including the Daretti itself. So this is a passion project. All of that aside, what am I actually doing? I'm trying to make this deck as powerful as possible without just being purely stacks. Now, I do have Smokestack and a couple of stacksing elements, like Mass Land Destruction. However, I like to think of this deck as Mud, just like very large, colorless mana deck. And we're using some pretty obscure combos to win the game, but they're pretty flashy and use pound for pound very strong cards. Because we're ramping, so we can already just cast 7 drops. So without further ado, let me just hop right in. So, okay, mana base, you're going to want a fast ramp because this deck is built to turn 1 or 2 Daretti. So Tomb and Crystal Vein, and then Urza Saga gets combo pieces, but it's also just an insane card. Then we have Crucible for strip, but we also have like Rings of Bright Earth for copying these land destruction effects, so that's really good. And there's really 3 good ones, and like 3.5 good ones, and then Field of Ruin, but take all of them. Then Venture Sphere for tutor, Sanctum of Ugin for tutor, those get combo pieces, Karn's Bastion for Planeswalker proliferate, but also proliferate like Everflowing and Smokestack, Darksteel Citadel and Great Furnace for artifact lands, Shatterskull for removal land, just a smattering, just 2 fetches. I just kind of like having them. I have Top and I have Crucible in the deck, so it's pretty good value. And then 12 basics. So I might even cut 1 just for space, but like sometimes I get fucked on red sources, so probably shouldn't. Then tons and tons of fast mana and ways to cheat large mana rocks into play as well. So for fast mana, Jeweled Lotus for the turn 1 Daretti, Opal, Crypt, Soul Ring, Manival, Expedition Map gets the ramp lands we talked about, or it gets the land destruction lands for comboing, or it gets red. Grim Monolith, Arcane Signet, Mindstone, Everflowing. Everflowing is modular. Sometimes you just cast it for 0, sometimes it scales. Jessica's Will is really insane, especially if you're going first turn 1, you open Mana Crypt, or like Soul Ring, Great Furnace, Mox Opal, Jessica's Will, just ramp out really hard. Warren is fine, it's kind of middle of the road. I kind of like to cut it if possible, because it doesn't come in untapped when you bring it back. Thran Dynamo. Solemn, again, like it's not optimal, but it's a really sexy card and I enjoy playing it, so it's in here for now for value, but you could cut it. Gilded Lotus, and then lastly Ori, because we could cheat Ori into play, and Ori will let me spend infinite colorless as though it's infinite red, which every once in a while fixes my ability to then go get the rest of my cards or access my grave. Then for like how we're actually winning, so we make infinite mana. One of the ways we could do it is just very simply make infinite mana and then get Walking Ballista, kill everyone. We also have Grindstone, Painter Servant. But along with the Grindstone could also mill yourself as set up. But along with the Painter Servant, we have Ugin, because if you -7, then presumably you ramp out Ugin very quickly in this deck, and you could cheat. You could even cheat it into play, actually. There's a couple of ways to do it. It's kind of silly. You could cheat Painter Servant into play as well, and then what I should be doing is playing red and Pyroblast and then calling blue, so I have backup, but I don't have space right now. You probably could cut the Worn Power Stone and the Solemn for those cards. And then you just minus Ugin for 7, leave the Ugin on board with 1, you exile all the lands and all the permanents, period, and then eventually you tick up and you ult the Ugin and probably try to win the game that way. So then there's Cloudstone Curio. Ugin is also a part of this Curio combo, so I'll bring it up in a moment. I'll put this to the side. Curio combos with Dockside plus another non-artifact creature to bounce the Dockside. I had, where is it? I had this card in the list, Artillerist, which just infinites the opponent right there, but I can't actually search for this because it's too big for Recruiter, and it's not a goblin for Matron. So it's good with Extortionist, but outside of that, it's kind of just meh. Like, you could do a Mycosynth Lattice Scrap Mastery play, but you're already going to win off of that. So Dockside is just comboing with basically itself and something else for infinite mana right now. And that's fine. It's also just like a good, you search it with Matron and you burst mana. The only proxy in the deck is Planebound Accomplice, which is sneak attack for planeswalkers. So with Curio, Planebound Accomplice, and where is she? Chandra, Torch of Defiance, and then as the 4-card combo, any of these planeswalkers after Chandra. So Karn, Ugin, or this Chandra, Acolyte of Flame. You can infinite planeswalker activations. So the way it works is you have Curio on board, you get Planebound Accomplice in, you activate, you put in the Chandra, Torch of Defiance, Chandra makes mana, and then you put in, like this Chandra, for example, this one's going to make 2 1/1 hastes that exile at the end step, but before it gets to activate, it comes in and has to bounce a planeswalker because of the wording on Curio. It has to bounce one of a shared type. And this is written before planeswalkers were printed, so you're just going to bounce your Chandra. And then keep in mind, you're paying red off Planebound Accomplice to sneak it in, but Curio says ETB, not cast. So then Chandra, Torch of Defiance, makes you the infinite mana, and then you just need another walker to do something, basically. And then Ugin is Lightning Bolt, so that can win the game because it's infinite bolt everybody. This Chandra Acolyte is just decent. Like, all of these individual planeswalkers are just good in this deck. I was already playing all of them except for Acolyte. So I just put it in. And Acolyte can 0 and help you ult your red planeswalkers. Otherwise, this makes infinite 1/1 hastes, so you attack the board. Karn exiles all the permanents and all the hands, so that's basically a win. And then Ugin is a Lightning Bolt. So all of them are good individually, and they are all opportunities to combo. Then we get to Mycos and Thladis, which is kind of like soft win the games. It's a non-bow with Painter Servant, so just keep that in mind. I guess it's timestamps. So Lattice Scrap Mastery, you get all your artifacts. Everyone sacks every permanent on the board, you get all your artifacts, so probably going to win. Creator, they can't tap for mana, so that kind of sucks. This is going to become Vandal Blast, but for now it kind of does the same thing, just destroy every permanent that you need. Trash Nabber is, if they do tap for mana, then you steal all their lands until the next turn, so they kind of have to like tap out as is. And then Hellkite Tyrant, I have Greaves to give it haste, and it's just kind of like a cheeky, more casual. I know I said I want to make this very powerful, but like there are still a couple of things that I want to play. And also, so I like having constant like goals for building the actual paper cards, and Hellkite Tyrant is possible to get in foil, so I'm like trying to get it foil, like, or ideally foil Japanese before I take it out of the deck, just kind of like as a goal. Same with the new top coming out. Top plus Helm plus Forge is draw the deck. Draw the deck usually finds infinite mana, because of the mana rocks that you have can generate more mana to cast the Basalt and have enough for rings activate. And then draw the deck plus all the mana equals win the game usually. There's a couple ways to win. And then just for like playing the actual game, Blood Moon. I don't have Magus of the Moon because I don't have space, and I don't like when Blood Moon can just die to like Lightning Bolt. So then on top of that, I trimmed Burning of Jin Yi, which was for the board and 4 of everyone's lands. It's really good because like you can keep your bigger creatures with Burning, but I just need space. So right now I just have Devastation and Decree, which is basically uncounterable with Cycle. And then the last walker, which can't really win the game with the Planebound Accomplice, Curio Loops, is Ugin, but Ugin is just really nasty because the deck is big and colorless, and then if you do generate that loop, you can generate a lot of value with like Vindicating some stuff, colored stuff. I guess if you have that loop set up and you have what the fuck is it called? Painter Servant, you can loop Ugin Ineffable using the minus to pop lands and everything, so kind of ends up being the same thing, and then you loop it as much as you want to basically get 2/2s and then untap and win with the 2/2s. So it's an extra step, but you can win with that combo piece. Then these are cards you can cut. So far the ones that you definitely can cut are like Solemn, Worn Power Stone, and Sunbirds. But for me, I enjoy playing Sunbirds. If you cast like a huge spell into it, you can fix to find the right combo piece, which is pretty useful. And just like also lets you play through stacks effects because you can just like look for things to cast for free. All this does clears up the board really nicely and cracks the Sanctum of Ugin, which is pretty cool and pretty colorless dot deck. But it doesn't work with what the fuck is it called? It doesn't work with Mycosynthitis, but it stacks every permanent with Painter Servant. So I'm not really sure if that's even good, because you would need something coming off the stack for that to be good. I guess like if you have Sunbird's Invocation, Painter Servant, you all is dust now, because then you're gonna all is dust whatever permanent you hit. So it's just one way to draw the game, I guess. Then for artifact creatures, Mirror Retriever for retrieving. Containment Construct is really fucking good because it generates card advantage. You can play Scrapyard Recombiner to tutor it as a construct, but I just don't have space for Recombiner right now. Might come back in though. There are really just like excellent constructs in this deck. Scrap Trawler, Kuldotha Forge Master. This is a construct if you're wondering. Wormcoil Engine. Wormcoil is kind of just in here for the fair decks, but I'm thinking about cutting it, which like really pains me because it's been in here since like as soon as I got a Wormcoil, it never came out. I don't play the Nim Deathmantle stuff, but you can only have so many combos and need so many combos. Duplicant is just good like exile removal, but again, like maybe one of those things that you could cut. It kind of depends on like how many actual fair creatures you're running into that you need to exile. Because like if you exile Thrasios, it comes back, you know, with like just the commander tax for 2. And then the last construct is Metalwork Colossus, which is usually just 0 mana and is a way to just kill people with the 10/10. It's good pressure. Then Codex Shredder. There are like Shredder loops, but I'm not playing any of them. They're really convoluted. When you get infinite mana, it's basically like you witness once if you need it, and then I'm not playing Trading Post, so unfortunately I can't get back the Shredder easily with like another artifact. Maybe Trading Post comes back in, but it's an e-witness and that's really all you need. Otherwise it just mills. I don't think I have any Shredder like infinites, no, because Curio doesn't work on artifacts. Eager Wellspring is ETB and dies, draw card, so value. Same thing with basics. Greaves is good for the goblins in this deck, but also just solid with like Wormcoil Engine, Metalwork Colossus, and Hellkite Tyrant. Sculpting Steel, this is the fucking great generic card, and there's a loop. I'll explain it later. It's a little convoluted, but it's also pretty cool because it's all artifacts. Ensnaring Bridge, Crucible of Worlds for value. KCI. Ironically, I have like I probably have some KCI combo in here I forgot about already, but like, oh yeah, I was gonna explain it in a bit with Sculpting Steel. Smokestack, that's like the only, I guess with Blood Moon and MLD, those are my stacks pieces. Memory Jar, big mana deck, you want Wheel on a Stick. Mindslaver, it's pretty fucking hilarious. A buddy of mine borrowed my deck the other day, played it extremely well, but it was a different list from this current Daretti list. And just like Mindslaver locked the table, not like hard lock, but soft locked for like multiple turn loops, all 3 opponents. It was really impressive. Spine of Ishtar is Vindicate. This is part of the KCI Sculpting Steel Champion of Helms loop. Basically, it's a 4-card combo where you Sculpting Steel, copying Spine, which only costs you 3 to cost. Costs you 3 to cast. If you have Champion's Helm, then Sculpting Steel is only 2 because all spells are generic less. And then KCI eats the copy, the Sculpting Steel Spine, which goes back to your hand because it dies as a spine right here. And it gives you 2 mana, which basically is a 4-card combo for infinite free Vindicates. And you could Scrap Mastery that entire combo into play. And then to round out the deck, the Welder package. I don't have Goblin Artificer in here, unfortunately. I just needed space, and like, it can't get cheap into expensive thing, which is kind of what the deck wants to do. So right now I'm not playing it. But it does get Kuldotha with haste, but you need to stack something even bigger. So like, I'm not really sure. And then Squee, because fucking flex. You could cut the Squee, but I really like it. It was in here since day 1. Imperial Recruiter, Goblin Matron, those get combo pieces. Trash for Treasure is just good utility, and then the Loot and Scoot, so Gamble, Faithless, Cathartic, Wheel of Misfortune, and Wheel of Fortune. Anyway, that's where the list is at. It's June of 2022. Like I said, I've been playing this deck for a really fucking long time, basically since the pre-con hit, and it's been my main deck in Commander for a very long time. I love that this deck isn't hard stacks, but it has stacks elements, and they're like a couple of convoluted combos I don't think like the average player is going to see coming. So I'm going to try running it at cedh. I'll probably throw in like a defense grid somewhere along the way so I just don't get fucked by blue decks. But yeah, hopefully get some extra thoughts and prayers and ideas for the deck.